What is up, YouTube? Who will the 2023 MVP be? This is a question that has baffled minds since the dawn of time. Who will be this specific year's MVP and why they will win it? All over a beer where they are completely sloshed. This time, I am not sloshed, but I am sloppy. That means that I will miss stuff. So please bear with me. Leave a like. Tell me who you think will be an MVP this year. Let's be honest. Pretty much the betting favorite is Luka Doncic. He crushed it in Eurobasket. The only reason he probably hasn't won it already is because he's come into the season consistently out of shape, and that's not going to be the case this year. He's crushed it in Eurobasket. It looks like he's not been hitting the hookah too hard. So Luka might be it. I think Luka's chances are it's pretty cut and dry. If he can get the Mavericks with, let's be real, a somewhat depleted roster and no real other second star to a top 4 seed, and he's consistently good the entire season, he has the best chance at winning the award. Now, he has only played over 66 games once in his career. That was his rookie season. But so you can kind of pencil him in for missing around 15 to 16 games a year, which is not really great for your MVP chances, especially when the record matters so much. If Luka stays healthy, he will probably win the award. I want to get that out of the way right off rip. But I want to talk about some of the other candidates. To be an MVP candidate, I think you need to be a top 10 player. That means we're talking about Steph Curry, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Jokic, Joel Embiid, LeBron, Kevin Durant. Who else am I talking about? I'm talking about Jimmy Butler. I'm talking about who else? I'm forgetting someone. I'm talking about Jason Tatum. I don't know if he's a top 10 player, but he could be in this upcoming season. And that's really pretty much it. I think the other people are all kind of in a group. You've got Devin Booker, you've got Trae Young, you've got I don't know, Paul George, you've got Kawhi. Kawhi's not going to play enough games, so we're not even going to talk about that. You've got, did I say Ja Morant? You've got Ja. You've got a lot of players who are kind of in the same category, and one of them could make a leap and jump into that next tier that could put them in this conversation. But historically speaking, this is who we're talking about. So let's get right into it. Number one, we're going to talk about former MVPs. Specifically, we're going to talk about Giannis and Jokic. They have won all 4 of the past 4 MVPs, each one going back to back. I would find it hard specifically for Jokic to win this award. I think for Jokic to win this award, his team would have to win like 70 games or something like historically great, because winning back-to-back-to-back MVPs hasn't been done since Larry Bird. And pretty much, and giving somebody a third MVP is essentially admitting that they're a top 15 to 20 player all time, right? Like Moses Malone is one of the other people to have more than 3 MVPs or 3 or more MVPs, and he's not even considered top 10. So, but he is in that 20 range. So, is Jokic that? Maybe. I'm not saying he isn't, but it is something that voters will be hesitant to. Plus, there's voter fatigue, and I think for Jokic to win would be very, very difficult. So I don't think Jokic will win it. He'll probably be top 5 in voting, but he won't win it. Giannis, another player that could easily be top 5 in voting. I think he has a much better shot at winning it than Jokic, because it's been 2 years since he's won the award. He's got a championship, so you know that he can get to the promised land when Jokic hasn't shown you that yet. Not that he's unable, but just it hasn't happened. So people have less questions about him as an offensive engine. That being said, again, there is the whole 3 MVP like barrier. Lots of people have 2 MVPs. Like almost nobody has 3. So Giannis definitely qualifies in my mind as a group of players to be talented and good enough to get that award. But I think it would be difficult for him to actually do it. I think they would need to be the number 1 seed in the East. He would need to be crushing it, and the team would need to do all this other stuff that I genuinely am not sure that the Bucks are going to try to do, because they want to be healthy in the postseason, because they just lost Chris Middleton and lost in the postseason because of it. So I think they're going to be trying to be healthy, especially Giannis, especially Chris Middleton. And I think that's not going to necessarily translate to a regular season award for Giannis. The other former MVPs of note to talk about are LeBron, Curry, and KD. Kind of the old heads in this group. We'll start with LeBron. LeBron is going to be sharing whatever credit that he gets for this team being good, if they are good, which we don't even know with Anthony Davis. If Anthony Davis is back and healthy and the team is suddenly good again, how much of that credit is going to go to Anthony Davis? It's kind of like what happened with them in 2020. The team was a number one seed. LeBron was one of, if not the best players in the league, and he didn't win MVP because AD was on his team. Happened with the 2017 Warriors. Steph and KD were two of the three best players in the league, and neither one of them won MVP because they were on the same team. Like it's a consistent thing. It's really hard for you to win MVP when you have another top 5 to 10 player on your team. And while AD was just ranked by ESPN like 20th, I think people are doing that because he's been injured and has played like crap because he's been in and out of the lineup. And if he's consistent and he's himself again, everybody's going to be like, AD's a top 5 player in the league. AD's amazing. And LeBron's not going to get the credit that he deserves, even though he's like 30,000 years old and averaging 35. It just won't matter. Kevin Durant is actually probably the person in this group that I think is likeliest to win MVP just because he was a huge MVP candidate last year and everybody was so ready to give it to KD. They were like, "Oh yeah, Kevin Durant, take the MVP." And what ended up happening was he got injured, the team sucked, and his case fell apart. Now, I think the reason that this won't that doesn't really matter is because everybody's kind of got questions about KD. Steph Curry just won another title without you. And Kevin Durant hasn't done that without Steph. So it's kind of like the Giannis problem, right? Where before he won the 2021 title, everybody was like, Giannis isn't a number one option. He's a two. You know, he can't be the best player on a championship team. And I think people are starting to get questions about Kevin Durant as not as a number one option, but just like as a winning player. And I think people will be hesitant to vote for him to win the award. Of course, people are going to argue about it. It's going to be on freaking Undisputed every single day. But I think overall voters are going to be like, after last year's postseason flop, you have to show us something new. But he is Kevin Durant, and the NBA media loves to give Kevin Durant flowers for shit. They're like, oh, but he's 6'11" and can shoot. That's crazy. And they just love to give him crap. So I would not be surprised at all if Kevin Durant is like number one on the MVP ladder with like 2 months left to go in the season. It wouldn't shock me. I don't think it'll happen, but I do think he's probably got the best odds out of that group. The other person is Steph Curry. You'd think that Steph Curry would have a better shot than KD to get the MVP, given the fact that he was also an MVP candidate, a very strong MVP candidate early in the year, and he was crushing it, and he hit a shooting slump, and he fell out of the race, but he won the title. He's been like, yeah, I'm the best player in the world. Giannis has even called him the best player in the world. So you would think that Steph would have a really great shot, right? Well, no, because the NBA hates giving Steph Curry flowers for shit. They always look for an excuse to put somebody over Steph for any award. Steph Curry's made all NBA teams 8 times in his career. He's only been first team like 3 of those times. If you had asked anybody, the man's been the best point guard in the league for the last 10 years. It's not even been close. But consistently, they've been like, oh, but Dame Lillard, oh, but James Harden, oh, but Russell Westbrook, oh, but Devin Booker. Like the NBA media loves to just overlook Steph Curry purely based on his height. And it's so stupid, but it's consistent. It's a trend. It needs to stop, but I have no faith that it will stop. So I don't think Curry's going to win the MVP. He was the best player in the league in 2021, didn't win the MVP. He was the best player in the league multiple times and hasn't gotten the award, hasn't even gotten NBA first teams. So it's kind of just the way it is. I have no faith that he'll win the award, even though I think he's still the best player in the league. Moving on, I think we are talking about Jokic, Embiid. Embiid and what the heck? I'm having a brain fart. Let's just talk about Embiid. Embiid and Jason Tatum. We'll talk about Jason Tatum. So yeah, that's a good group. Uh, Embiid is somebody who is going to have similar issues with the Laker problem, where if Harden has a bounce back season, or if Matisse Thybulle gets really, really good, well, hold on that second part. If Harden has a really amazing season and the 76ers are a 1 seed, a lot of that credit's going to go to Harden. So even though he is probably the second player, the number 2 player that I would say has the best chances at the MVP, there is a little bit of detraction on that. Now, Embiid is a fantastic player, and I think even if Harden has the bounce back season, there's still a really good shot that he can win the MVP, purely based on the fact that he hasn't won before. Purely based on that. He's been second. It's kind of like with what happened in Harden in like 2018 when he won his MVP. He was runner up like 3 times in a row, and it was just kind of finally his turn to win the award. And it kind of feels like it's going that way for Joel Embiid. And if Luka doesn't win it, I would say Embiid's going to win it. Purely based on the fact that it's kind of like a lifetime achievement kind of thing. It's like with Kobe in 08. It was like, it's not your best year, but like take it. Like it's yours. You deserve it. Just go. Leave. Yes, leave. It's kind of the same thing. Tatum, on the other hand, I think it has probably the best storyline out of anybody. I think he's probably the worst of these players that I've listed so far, but he did play in the playoffs injured or recovering from an injury, but when he was playing the Nets, he was a far more active defender and he had lots of more energy. And if he brings that into the regular season and the Celtics are a top 2 seed in the East again, especially with the Ime Udoka stuff, like, because now everybody's like, oh, is Missoula going to be good? Are the Celtics going to be good? What's happening? But in the reality of the situation is that the team has kind of an identity already built, and while adding Malcolm Brogdon into that does kind of change it a little bit, I don't think it really changes the fact that Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are their guys, and if Jason Tatum is the big reason why they're good and he remains that defensive beast that he showed that he could be, bro, Jason Tatum's got a really good story. Coach got suspended and they're still a great team. It's all because of Jason Tatum. He can get the award. So those are the MVP candidates. I think if I had to pick 3, I would say Embiid, Luka. Well, I would say Luka, Embiid, and then I'd say Jason Tatum. I don't think Jason Tatum is the best player on this list. And hey, he might not even be top 3. Like, he might end up being like 6th in MVP voting or 7th in MVP voting. But people want the story, and I'm trying to pick the winner. And if it's not one of those 3, I will be shocked. Giannis would be 4th, but those are my picks to win the MVP. NBA Media Day has been crazy. DeAndre Ayton is clearly upset to be on the Suns still, which is kind of hilarious. Kevin Durant and Kyrie are still super buddy, and Kevin Durant's like, "Oh yeah, I love what Sean Marks did with the team." Come on, man, shut up. Next. And Giannis called Curry the best player in the world, and Curry was like, yes. So, everybody is kind of throwing all the interesting shit, and I'm so happy that we're going to see the season soon. Leave a like, comment who you think will win the MVP, and subscribe.